Hey guys, so I've been a little bit AWOL. The truth is, I had a birthday, and as many of you will know, if you're involuntary childless and in your 40s, well, any age really, birthdays can be a huge trigger. And this year, for me, was a huge trigger. But then I realised something as well, and something that's really overlooked is that I think that birthdays, when you're childless, can be considered a traumiversary. And if you have symptoms of trauma, maybe complex PTSD or something, there are certain events or certain dates that can trigger off this kind of reaction, which can be really physical. And some say that it should be listed as a symptom of PTSD. And I realised that that's what we go through as childless people. Our own birthdays, when they're triggering, could be considered and have the same impacts as a traumiversary.
She had plenty of time to find a decent guy, settle down and have children. She had at least 10 to 15 years. Instead, she chased a career and rode the carousel. Sometimes they can even spend years in university, studying and paying off debts. Then after they graduate, they end up working in Wendy's. Now she's reached a stage in her life where she's calling her birthday a traumiversary.
She has gone mad.
This is a story of a single 30-something living in New York City and heading to London to freeze my eggs for 1/3 of the cost. I've lived a life of adventure, career, and not settling for love in my 30s. And you know what? I still want to do that for a while longer. The average cost of freezing your eggs in New York is $15,000. In London, I'm paying around $6,000 for everything. I'm scared it won't work out and what I hope for, but I want to show you guys the reality of it all. The emotions, the daily vlogs of how it works and answering your questions along the way, the shots. I hope my story can help show another option to take control of your fertility at a fraction of the cost. I start this week, and can we mention how nice the doctor's offices are here? So if you're curious to know what it's like egg freezing abroad and in London, follow along.
3 days later.
Story time for why my egg freezing didn't work. This month was a very, very light period. I felt like my body was just off, but I kind of ignored it and powered through and was determined to do this. Because I look and feel young, I just thought, hey, my fertility is great. My levels seemed pretty average, so I wasn't really worried about it. From a medical standpoint, how egg freezing works is you have follicles on your ovaries. They start really small, and the medicine helps them grow. And each follicle hopefully can have an egg that matures while it's growing, and then they go and then they collect all the eggs. It's recommended to get about 10 eggs for every live birth. In early August, I had 11 follicles, and not all follicles tend to work or have a mature egg. So I knew I was already probably going to have to do this twice. Doctors cleared me moving forward. 3 weeks later, when I started my next period, is when I would do the procedure. So this month, I only had 7 follicles. I had a lot of personal stuff that also went on in those 3 weeks. That was pretty stressful. But your follicle count can fluctuate. So from a medical standpoint, I was taking the medicine, and one of the follicles was absorbing like all the medicine and just was growing at a really fast rate, and all the other follicles just weren't growing. And so as I got halfway through, the doctor just realized I wasn't going to have a lot of follicles to take an egg from. And this one was so big that it probably was going to release its egg early anyways, so they didn't recommend doing the procedure if maybe I could only get 1 egg. The more people I've told about this, the more I've heard that it's quite common. A lot of people tend to have failed cycles, and then they have successful cycles, their second or third. So this is a lot more common, and this is why I want to bring it to light, the real side of egg freezing.
Modern women want to go against natural biology. Instead of trying to have children in their early 20s, they are trying to use technology to freeze their eggs, so they can live a life chasing their careers and being 304s. Unfortunately, they come to realize freezing their eggs don't always work.
She created her own reality.
So as a spinster, I am, of course, a crazy cat lady. I have a cat. I love my cat. I'm a veterinarian. I like cats. But I have to tell you that when it comes down to it, cats not really all that different from human men. They do not understand the concept of consent or personal space. Thank you for illustrating that, Charlie. They require you to feed them, clean up after them, take care of them. And they think they're in charge, even though they've done absolutely nothing to deserve it.
She can keep telling herself that if it makes her feel better. This is one extreme example of what it looks like when somebody is trying to cope.
Aren't you that crazy cat lady?